Let's get it on a Red Friday on 580 Sports Talk. Biggest game of the year on the NFL schedule. Chiefs at Bills. We'll break it all down from stem to stern this afternoon. We are with you for the next 3 hours on a Football Friday on 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And on our video stream, hello to our live and late viewers watching on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the channel. You can also watch us on Facebook, WIBW News. You'll hear from the whole gang today. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis. It'll be a amorphous cast of characters, ever-changing. I'm leaving early. I've got playoff football down the turnpike in Wichita tonight for our 580 Preps playoff football game of the week. Seaman at Eisenhower in Goddard, 5A West sectional play. I will have the action at 7 o'clock. Our pregame coverage starting with the 580 Preps Coaches Club right at 6. So you'll hear from me for the first 30 or so minutes and then periodically as we go along on the show today. Brendan Dworzinski's going to Kansas City, so he's going in the other direction or an other direction. It's got Washburn men's basketball tonight, part of an Ichabod Hoops doubleheader on our sister station, your home for Ichabod basketball and Ichabod athletics, Country 106.9. Tipping off in about 2 hours, Washburn women's basketball out in Quincy, Illinois, taking on McKendree in the first of 2 games just that side of the Illinois border this weekend. Grady Johnson on the call for Country 106.9. Following that one, we'll throw it out to Mason Halpin Arena at Rockhurst, one of my most and least favorite arenas in the country.
I spoke to our pal Jake LeBon the other day, and he was very quick to tell me how much he hates that gym. And I said, yes, I know.
I love how small it is. It's quaint in its way. There still appears to be like a penalty box behind one of the baskets that I greatly enjoy. Also, the Washburn men used to lose there in the most painful fashion all the time.
Yeah, it's not even, unfortunately, really a used to thing because Washburn has lost 4 straight at Rockhurst.
Let's break that streak tonight.
Yes, please.
Brendan Dworzinski will be on the call. Ichabod men's basketball, a
That's
7
me.
o'clock tip tonight. A Washburn Hoops doubleheader on Country 106.9. High school football here tonight on 580 WIBW and 580 Sports Talk for the next 3 hours. We are jam-packed today. Chiefs, Bills, the big game, a red-letter game in the National Football League for week number 11. We've got our keys to the game. We got our predictions. We got our big Chief picks as well. We'll hear from Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider, at the bottom of this hour. Matt from ChiefsDigest.com will join us to help break the game down, talk about all of the factors that could go into the Chiefs trying to avoid a 4th consecutive regular season loss to Josh Allen and the Bills. Also, later in the show today at about 5:25, you missed him yesterday because we were off early, but I sat down with Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, and we had a chance to chat and break this one down. He's got some great statistical nuggets, and, I mean, he's Mitch. It's always a great time when we get to talk to Mitch, courtesy of our friends at Hy-Vee and Azure Credit Union. That's coming up in the 5 o'clock hour of today's show.
With Washburn women on the road in Quincy, Illinois, as you mentioned, going to keep this tradition going. Last week, got to talk all about St. Cloud and Marshall, Minnesota, the locations where Washburn was playing, or the teams that hail from those locations anyway. Quincy, Illinois, you were there last year for the same event.
I was.
Some fun facts. It is the hometown of Chicago Cubs great Rick Russell.
Oh, sure.
He's from Quincy. Brigadier General Paul Tibbets. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
That is the gentleman who flew the Enola Gay.
Oh, how about that?
Significant World War II aficionados. You remember that. Also, that's about it. That guy who went on Family Feud and was like, haha, isn't it funny that I hate my wife, and then killed her? That was in Quincy.
Ooh.
Yeah, not great.
That's grim. That took a turn.
That's about all I got for you.
These facts aren't fun anymore.
Yeah, no, you kind of lose the fun there. I'm not sure there's anyone else really all that notable from there, unless you care about the 12th governor of Illinois, John Wood.
I do not.
Yeah, well, you would not care about that.
I think they named a college after him, though. Isn't there a John Wood? No, I'm thinking of John Logan. John A. Logan.
Yes, which is also in Illinois.
Yes.
That's where former K-State point guard David Sloan played his JUCO ball.
That's a deep pull.
Yeah.
Speaking of K-State basketball, we don't have any room for them on today's show.
Good.
Yeah, they should be counting their blessings that we really don't have room to talk about whatever the hell that was that Jerome Tang's guys submitted in a really non-competitive loss to LSU last night. That was gross. It had better get better in a hurry. It can. The good news is the talent is there. It can get better in a hurry, but that was ugly. That was maybe your best chance to pick up a non-conference win worth like anything, and that was gross. They got annihilated on the glass. They couldn't make a shot. Coleman Hawkins, to say that he went through the motions in the game would be an insult to the motions. And that's all I got to say about that. You're lucky I don't have 15 more minutes of that. Turn the fire hose on Wildcat Hoops after that loss last night.
Yeah, the rest of the Big 12 is calling him Drollman Hawkins because they're going to be laughing all season long if he doesn't turn that around.
More like Coleman Hawk out because that's where all his shots ended up. Anyway, yeah.
Once he missed like the first 3 threes, I was pretty cool with him not taking a fourth.
Yeah.
You have bad games sometimes. It happens. I would like for that not to happen again. It's also a little worrisome because they have one good non-conference game at home.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that K-State will look great against Mississippi Valley State next week. So does everyone. Missouri hung 100 on them.
Yeah, they did.
Missouri, the worst team in the high majors.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, K-State, yuck.
Yeah, that's all we got on that. But a texter from the 785 on the text line points out that Cam Carter was awesome last night. And he was. He was the best player who has ever been associated with the Kansas State Wildcats who played in last night's game, which is a problem because he plays for LSU now. That was kind of a problem. You can text the show. The text line is wide open, 785-272-9429. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, jump in the live chat feature. That's how you can interact with the show. I gave you just half of the guest list today, our Chiefs-related guests. We got Matt Derrick coming up in about 20 minutes or so. We've got Mitch Holthus in the 5 o'clock hour. Also today, our KU and K-State player profiles of the week. Conversations I get a chance to have with members of the Jayhawk and Wildcat football teams. Coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, Cody Stufflebean, the former McPherson Bullpup and current senior defensive lineman for the Cats. Got a chance to catch up with Cody coming off the bye week. Talk a little bit to the engineering major about his season and about his future and about his defensive line teammates. And I made him pick a favorite sack celebration between his teammates. Brendan Mott and Toby Osensanmi both have pretty good ones. I made him pick a favorite. I hope I didn't create a schism in the locker room. But
it'd be kind of funny if you did, though.
No, it would not be funny. I'd feel very bad. That's not my job.
Chris Kleiman speaking after Saturday's game. Well,
pointing directly at me.
You did this.
So Cody Stufflebean, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. In bottom of the 5 o'clock hour, Mike Ford, offensive lineman, Kansas University Jayhawk football, KU Jayhawk football, University of Kansas football.
Thank you.
Yes, I knew that was correct. I got caught between the KU and Kansas, and it just kind of spilled out.
What in the recruiting announcement is that?
Right? I should have said that with the notes app instead.
I will tell you this. Mike Ford starting to get a little draft hype. Just saw him. Chad Reuter of NFL.com just had him as a day 3. Haven't seen a lot of his name on any big boards recently, but saw him listed as a day 3 option the other day.
Really enjoyed getting to talk to Big Mike. I made him pick a favorite Chicago delicacy. He's a Chicagoland native, Homewood, Illinois. So we had a chance to talk about that as well. So those player profiles are coming to you later on in the program today. Plus, we'll crown a What Is Wrong With You weekly champion. Got our Prairie Band Sportsbook 580 Sports Talk picks contest. Nobody is above 500 right now in the picks contest. That's a bad look. You would think
I'm broke
that these ball knowers on this show would be picking games better, but alas, I am right at 500. 26-1. You're betting with me, you're down the juice, essentially. But that's still better than any of the rest of y'all. So hopefully, we get that turned around this week and pick some more winners for you. That's coming up. And again, your interaction in the live chat, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, on the text line, 785-272-9429. Chiefs Bills. 8th meeting in the last 5 years between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Do you know the last time 2 quarterbacks met each other 8 times in a 5-season stretch?
Brady and Manning?
Brady and Manning.
Yep.
In the mid-2000s.
Those guys are pretty good.
Yes, they were. Unlike this particular edition of the rivalry, Manning actually did get one that mattered. Brady got all the ones that mattered right up until 2006 when the Colts won the AFC Championship game, beat the Patriots, and went to the Super Bowl.
And won the Super Bowl.
That thing ended up winning. Right. Josh Allen has yet to win any of the ones that mean anything, but he's winning all the ones that don't. The last 6 meetings have been split down the middle. Kansas City winning the 3 playoff games. The Bills winning all 3 regular season meetings, which oddly have all been at Arrowhead Stadium. This one is not. This one is at Highmark Stadium. So too was the one in January in the divisional round that the Chiefs won, because again, it was one that mattered.
Does this game lack any amount of juice to you? Like, it's being talked about a ton, NFL media, national sports media coverage, like tons of hype about the game. And I'm excited for it. Don't get me wrong. I feel like and if you're a Chiefs fan, you disagree with this, obviously, because you'd rather smoke them every single time, like every team. But I feel like for this matchup to have some of that fire back, I just saw a post today online somewhere that said, is this the best rivalry going in the NFL? No. You've got to have some meaning to it. It's got to be even. It's got to be fair. It's got to have some more of that. These teams want to beat each other, but the Bills have never gotten the one over the Chiefs. I feel like the Bills need to win a playoff game in this head-to-head before we can say, oh, yeah, best rivalry going. I don't really think it's that much of a rivalry at all. So I feel like you mentioned Brady and Manning. And granted, that was also different. I was a child and was not yet completely jaded by the state of the world. But it felt huge. Like, oh, man, CBS, 325, Nance and Sims are going to be on the game. This is a big, the whole week is culminating with this. Maybe it's just the fact that I got other stuff going on in my life now and I can, focus on other things. But I feel like, okay, the Bills might win, but like that doesn't really prove us anything. Like,
right, because again, they haven't
done it on the bigger stage.
They have won in the last 3 regular season meetings.
Yeah.
And that hasn't ended up proving much of anything because the Chiefs win the ones in the playoffs, the ones that matter. For this to get to and Brady Manning was the same. Like, I know you were a little younger for that, but Brady Manning kind of was the same, where it was like, yeah, is this really a rivalry if Manning doesn't beat him in the playoffs? And then Manning beat him in the playoffs, and it gave it some juice.
And that too had the golden boy because he won 3 Super Bowls already versus the golden boy because he's a Manning and was, the prospect of the time.
Right. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I still think this is, as NFL regular season games go, as big as it gets.
Fair.
And certainly it's going to be a great crowd in Buffalo, too. That place is going to be going nuts. They want their pound of flesh. They want to see a win over the Chiefs. I think there's an understanding, like on a general level, among inside the kingdom, let's call it. There is a general understanding that the Chiefs are not, shall we say, well-liked outside of Chiefs Kingdom. It's very similar to the reaction that the Patriots got. I'm here to tell you, however much you think that people who are not Chiefs fans hate the Chiefs, they hate them more than you realize. Especially if there is a rivalry element to it. Like, Broncos fans hate the Chiefs way more than you think they do. Way more than you think they do. And I know that Broncos fans hate the Chiefs. But it's outside of worse. And the Bills, it's the same thing.
And like the Broncos, you've played for 60 plus years. Like I get that. I get why the Broncos hate the Chiefs. Other teams' fans, though, like I don't really think that it's most of it is well founded. Because what is always the number one complaint? Always
they win too much. Or the refs are in their back pocket
about how the Chiefs win.
Yeah.
Oh, Chiefs refs again. I complain as my team trails 35-14 with 3 minutes left, and there was a missed false start. Oh, boo freaking who. That is the lamest thing, man. I've said this before. Ignore anyone who comes to you with Chiefs need the refs to win. Yeah, dude, no. Good take. Very, very smart. The refs gave the Chiefs 3 Super Bowls. Very smart.
Let's run through our keys to the game for this one. First, a note from the injury list. Juju Smith-Schuster going to play for the Chiefs. I don't believe there is anyone, and I will double check this. Don't believe there is anyone with an out designation who you would not expect to be out for the Chiefs. That's Charles Omenihu and Isaiah Pacheco, whose designated to return windows have been open, but they're not officially off the IR. So neither of them are going to play. Everybody else for the Chiefs, a full participant, no designations. Everyone is good to go. For the Bills, Dalton Kincaid out. Couldn't make it back to practice this week. Their tight end will not play. He's out with a knee injury. We already know Keon Coleman is out. Amari Cooper is questionable. If he does play, he's going to have a huge, bandage wrap on his wrist and thumb, and that doesn't seem ideal for a wide receiver, but what do I know? Amari Cooper is questionable. Spencer Brown is questionable. He was able to get back to practice today. They're starting right tackle after missing 2 days with an ankle injury. He was limited today, still listed as questionable. Matt Milano's out, but we knew that. He's not off IR yet. Everybody else good to go for the Bills. That all being said, let's get to those keys to the game. My first key to the game is that the Chiefs tackles have to play well, and well is relative. Every player has their own standard of well. Like Patrick Mahomes' standard of playing well is higher than, anyone else's. So the standard for Juwan Taylor and Wanya Morris for playing well is different because it's what they're capable of. But I think Juwan Taylor is capable of winning his matchup. We've seen him do it at times this year. He's going to have to. And for Wanya Morris, playing well means don't let Greg Rousseau or A.J. Epinesa or Von Miller or whoever coming off a left tackle make a game-wrecking or a game-flipping play. An interception deep in Chiefs territory that costs you 7 points. A strip sack. A sack on third down that moves you out of field goal range. A hit that, God forbid, injures Patrick Mahomes. Do not let that game-wrecking play come from your side of the line. That's the standard for Wanya Morris. If he's just fine, I think that will help the Chiefs because this is a pass defense that can absolutely be had. And all Mahomes needs with a full complement of wide receivers is time. So that's my first key. My second key to the game is get back to run game success. The Broncos last week took away the early down success the Chiefs have been having on the ground. The Bills, I don't think, are built to do that. They're averaging close to 5 yards per carry allowed, and I think they're way less likely to keep the Chiefs out of easy second and third down situations, which means there aren't as many obvious passing downs, which will help the tackles because you can't pin your ears back if it's not an obvious passing situation. So returning to run game success, especially on first down, I think that'll be critical for the Chiefs.
My two keys. My first one is building off of your first one, in fact, because I don't feel especially good about the state of tackle play entering this game, especially at left tackle, and I think you can understand why. So with that in mind, get the ball out quickly here. Those defensive ends have played really well against the Chiefs. You've outlined that over the course of the week, Dan. Greg Rousseau, as well as A.J. Epinesa. Ed Oliver's a good player. That's on the interior. They can move him outside. They'll run a lot of games up front where they bring him on a twist around the edge. Those guys have put in some really good work against the Chiefs over the last few years. To me, this should be classic, go back in the archives, 2002 Philadelphia Eagles West Coast offense kind of game from Andy Reid. 1-2 ball out, 1-2 ball out, quick reads, get the ball out quickly. It's why I was talking earlier this week, I think it was yesterday, about why bringing back Juju Smith-Schuster healthy for this game is a big, big deal, because I feel like he is more built to fit that kind of offense and that kind of plan, more so than a D-Hop is, or certainly a Xavier Worthy or guys like that. To me, get the ball out quickly, work it to Juju while he's in there. I don't expect it to be too many snaps, maybe 15, 18, something like that. Use Kelsey plenty. One of those games where he catches 10 passes for 80 yards. That's fine in a matchup like this. Try to drag in that secondary a little bit, get them to cheat up, be willing to use the run game like you mentioned as well, and then you'll open up one or two shot plays you can take, probably to DeAndre Hopkins, but maybe to Worthy or Watson as well. Old school kind of football game for the Chiefs. Secondly, defense. Secondary has got to show up in this game. Josh Allen, 17th in the NFL in percentage of throws into tight windows. I don't know exactly what a tight window is. You can put that together. 17th in the league. So he's not exactly jamming it in constantly. He's not taking a ton of risks in small spaces. Now, Khalil Shakir is going to play. He is a technician of a route runner. I really like Khalil Shakir. He's going to find a way to get open. The Bills' scheme with Joe Brady is going to find ways to get him open on some mesh, some crosser, some underneath stuff. But no Dalton Kincaid, as you mentioned. We know there's no Keon Coleman as well. There are not going to be nearly as many weapons for this Buffalo team. So the defensive backs of the Chiefs, the corners, they've got to make things as difficult as possible, win some of those one-on-ones. I'll talk about Trent McDuffie a little bit later on in the show. Josh Allen hasn't turned the ball over a ton this year. can you force old Josh, where he is going to take some bigger risks? And some of them will work, and some of them will not. That you're trying to get 2021 Josh Allen in this game. Boom player, also very much a bust player. If you can get that, I think the Chiefs win.
I think it's a fascinating point, especially because of the fact that the Bills are plus 13 in the turnover margin this year.
That's wild.
Yeah, they've only turned it over 6 times. They have forced 19 turnovers.
What do the Chiefs need to do? What needs to happen for the Chiefs to start winning the turnover margin? I don't get it.
I don't get it either. But, yeah, if they can force if they win the turnover battle, I feel very confident they'll win the game.
Agreed.
I really do. Spencer not with us just yet, but he left us a couple of keys as well. I think this is right on the nose. Finish drives with touchdowns. You're on your backup kicker now. You're on a second kicker, Spencer Schrader, with the Harrison Butker injury, who was officially placed on IR today, by the way. So he's going to miss the next 4 games at least. So that may enhance the importance of finishing in the red zone and finishing on third down and moving those drives and getting 7 when you have the opportunity. And the other thing is, don't let Josh Allen get comfortable. I think that the Chiefs have faced 2 quarterbacks who've been really effective on the run this year, and Lamar Jackson is a different beast than Bo Nix, and they're both a different beast than Josh Allen. But Jackson did whatever he wanted on the ground, but it was all scramble stuff. Bo Nix, when he tried design running, it didn't really work.
Nope.
Chiefs were really good against the design run stuff and limited him as a scrambler. They've got to limit Allen as a scrambler for sure. And I think you want to try your best to cave in the middle of that pocket, limit Allen's impact as a scrambler. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have our predictions and our big Chief picks. Matt Derrick's going to join us, our Chiefs insider. We got a jam-packed show today. We're so glad you're with us here on 580 Sports Talk. Lots more Chiefs to get to on the show today. Matt Derrick coming up next. Mitch Holthus, thanks to a Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union, coming up at about 5:20 this afternoon on the show. Spoke with him yesterday, but we couldn't bring it to you because we had K-State basketball to bring you instead. So my conversation, our weekly visit with Mitch, is coming up this afternoon on today's show at 5:20 or so. But right now, it's time to make our predictions and our big Chief picks. And now I know why Spencer didn't want to be in for this first hour, because he is now the second member of the crew to have picked against the Chiefs at any point this year. I picked against the Chiefs when they went to San Francisco, and I was wrong. Spencer's going with the Bills, who, by the way, are 2-point favorites with a total of 45.5 set by Prairie Band Sportsbook in Mayetta. Spencer's going with the Bills by a field goal, 27-24. His big Chief is Chris Jones. Absolutely agree there. Jones has to impact this game in a major way. If he's a guy we're talking about a lot at the end of the game, that's probably a really good thing for the Chiefs. But Spencer going with the Bills for a fourth straight regular season win over the Chiefs. Brendan, what's your pick?
Not only did Spencer pick against the Chiefs, but I also heard him say today that he hates puppies and loves clubbing baby seals. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked that a man as great as I thought Spencer was would say such things.
He will have to address the allegations when he does appear on the show, which he will later on.
All right, my prediction, I've got the Chiefs 25-22. I was just telling you about the cornerbacks. They need to play well, force some bad decisions by Josh Allen. Trent McDuffie, I don't need a pick, but one would be nice.
Yeah, still waiting on that first one of his entire career for Trent McDuffie. But, we mentioned it earlier. This is a Bills team that has thrived off takeaways and winning the turnover battle. If the Chiefs can flip that script, I think that would augur really, really well for them. I thought all week I was going to pick the Bills. I really did. I don't think that they've got enough playmakers to beat the Chiefs without Keon Coleman, without Dalton Kincaid. I just think they're short on playmakers unless Allen is virtually perfect. And I think the Chiefs can find some ways to heat him up and to get him off of schedule and to make him make a mistake in this game. My big Chief is the man who has the chance to do the funniest thing possible. And that is Spencer Schrader, the new kicker for the Chiefs. Because I know there are a lot of people out there thinking, man, that's a big blow for the Chiefs. Harrison Butker's Mr. Clutch. You can always count on him for a game-winning field goal. Now they got this guy, 2 career NFL games in his first season. He's not going to be as reliable. I think Schrader makes like a 30-odd yarder to win it at the end of regulation. That's my pick. I think Schrader makes the game-winning field goal. Chiefs by 1, 24-23.
I think he can be half of the funniest thing possible. The true funniest thing that could happen this weekend is a game-winning kick by Spencer Schrader. Meanwhile, Anders Carlson misses a game-ending kick for the Jets. That is the funniest thing that could happen.
The anti-Anders Carlson agenda continues.
It will never stop.
From Brendan Dworzinski.
Also, God's anti-Jets agenda.
So Brendan and I on the Chiefs to cover the +2 and win outright. Spencer on the Bills to cover and win outright. Looks like we are all over the 45.5.
Wow.
I'm not sure how much weather is going to play a role in this game, but yeah, I have a hard time seeing it not going over. I feel really good about over 45.5, actually.
It'd be a fun over. Some overs are fun. This would be a fun one.
It really would. I feel like the one thing I am confident in saying is that this game is going to deliver. This game is going to be as good as it would appear to be on paper, because that's what happens when you have 2 elite quarterbacks at the top of their game. And that's what we're getting with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. However it goes, savor it. These are the fun ones.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. I'm hoping for the best. I hate when we build up these games and they suck.
Yeah.
What was the game? It was a Royals game this summer.
Yeah.
It was Reagan's against someone.
Corbin Burns and Cole Reagan's, folks. Box office. Buy tickets. Pitchers duel. No doubt about it. They were both out of the game by the 4th inning. Reagan's was out by the 2nd inning. Yeah.
Let's hope this one goes a little better.
Yeah. Let's hope where our prognostication skills are a little bit better. I'm out of here. I got to go down the turnpike. I'm going to Goddard for playoff football tonight. Seaman at Eisenhower, our 580 Preps playoff football featured game tonight here on 580 WIBW. Pre-game at 6 with the 580 Preps Coaches Club and the kickoff at 7. Brendan and Spencer have you the rest of the way. Well, Brendan for another hour or so, and then Spencer the rest of the way. But you'll hear plenty of me because I'm doing a bunch of interviews in the rest of the show. So I guess don't fret. In the meantime, we'll take a break and come back with Matt Derrick our Chiefs Insider on 580 Sports Talk.
Peace of mind. This month, replace your HVAC system and receive a free whole home humidifier. Schedule a complimentary assessment online at tuncohc.com.
Have you lost hand care? At healthcare.gov, you can find a low-cost, quality health plan.
Do plans cover doctor visits?
What about emergency care?
And prescriptions?
All covered and more. Plus, with the new law, 4 out of 5 customers can find a plan for $10 or less per month with financial help. Healthcare.gov is here for you. Enroll today for coverage starting the 1st of next month. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
WIBW, Topeka.
We look forward to the challenge. We look forward to that challenge.
Mr. Official, let me ask you something.
Let's go to Kansas City, where we are joined by our good friend, the one and only Matt Derrick, who covers the Kansas City Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com. That's where you can go for all the best insight into what is going on with the reigning Super Bowl champions. Matt, of course, can be found on Twitter as well. Actually, I should double check that. Matt Derrick, are you still on Twitter, or have you abandoned Elon's ship yet?
I haven't done that yet. I'm trying to expand the empire, though. So you can find me on Threads and Blue Sky and everywhere. So I try to be where the masses are.
Hey, love to hear that. So go follow Matt on Blue Sky, Threads, Twitter, wherever you are. Matt Derrick is, of course, the name where you can find him. He joins us every Friday at this time for our Chiefs Insider. And Matt, the newest injury news for the Chiefs is where we're going to start. We'll get to Juju in a minute. But this Harrison Butker news kind of came out of nowhere yesterday. He goes on to injured reserve, so he is out for the time being. He's going to miss at least the next 4 weeks. How big of a deal is this for this Chiefs team to not have their kicker for the next month?
I mean, there's no doubt it's a big deal. I mean, Harrison Butker is one of, if not the best kicker in the NFL. So it's significant. And obviously he's made a lot of key, clutch kicks for this team. They're playing a lot of close games. So, it'd be valuable to have Harrison. And, they're fortunate next 2 games are on the road to a degree because Arrowhead's one of the more difficult places to play. And that'll at least give, Spencer Schrader a chance to kind of work for a couple of weeks and, kicking over to Arrowhead, kind of adjusting to the wind conditions and everything before he's got to kick on that Black Friday game. So maybe a little bit of a break there. And I know the kid's got a big leg, but, just how much you trust the leg is going to mean that the Chiefs have a little bit more of a leash as far as distance and accuracy, as far as what you're going to have him, kind of kicks you're going to be having him do. So, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, it's a blow, but you've got to trust in Dave Tobe that more often than not, when he gets an opportunity to choose a young kicker, he makes the right call. I mean, we've seen it before when the Chiefs have signed emergency kickers and obviously the punters that he's had through the last few years. I mean, he's gotten the right call on every single one of them. And I know Spencer Schrader wasn't available to talk to us today because he was still out on the practice field working with Dave Tobe. So I think at this point, hey, Dave Tobe is Dave Tobe. So I think you got to trust in his process and trust his judgment, and obviously Brett Veach's judgment too.
Were you aware of any sort of concern with the knee for Harrison Butker over the last couple of weeks, or is this really something that just flared up in the last few days?
Andy Reid seemed to suggest that it was just something that happened in practice. I'm not sure that it was really 100% clear whether it happened Wednesday or Thursday in practice, but he was a full participant, on Wednesday. So now Wednesday there wouldn't have been much special teams. They were doing a 10-10-10. So that day, so they might not have done any field goal kicking, anything of that nature. Sometimes if they're doing return, they'll use the jugs machine or something like that to just kind of take the wear and tear off their kickers and punters. So he may not have done much on Wednesday. And if it was indeed, hurt at the beginning of practice on Thursday, which kind of was, it seemed like Andy Reid suggested, if he was now hurt at the very end of practice on Wednesday, that would be a reason why he wasn't on the injury report. But I had no indication. I talked to Harrison after the game on Sunday, and he gave no indication that the knee was bothering him or anything. He talked to me about the missed kickoff issue, and and just said he mishit it, but he didn't say anything about the knee or the plant leg giving him any problems on it.
As for the other major injury news and positive injury news this week for the Kansas City Chiefs, sounds like Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be good to go. Andy Reid reiterated that when he spoke to the media a little bit earlier today, Matt. How big of a deal is it for this game against Buffalo in particular to have Juju's skill set back on the field, even if he is on a limited snap count for this game?
Yeah, I think it's big. I mean, obviously, the Chiefs got Juju as kind of Rashee Rice's insurance. And if they lose Rashee Rice, they're able to go to Juju. And he has obviously a couple of really nice games, gets hurt. They don't have either one of them now. And so they go out and get DeAndre Hopkins. And DeAndre Hopkins was kind of their Juju Rashee replacement. So now they've got both those guys. I mean, obviously, I think it just gives them more depth. I mean, they're going to be asking him and Juju to do a few of the same things. I'm sure they're still going to find a way to get both those guys on the field at the same time. And the idea that Juju's going to be on the field with DeAndre and Kelsey, I mean, pick your poison. That's going to be, I think, really tough. I mean, especially once Juju gets his legs under him. And, and that's the thing. You mentioned the limited snap count. I do think that the Chiefs will be probably a little bit slow with him, is just the way it comes along, because they're focused on the postseason. I mean, they've got plenty of time here. They got a lot of runway as far as how much that they can line things up and get some of these guys who are coming back like Juju and Isaiah Pacheco and Charles Omenihu, and just give them enough time that, hey, they're ready to go once the playoffs start.
We're joined by Matt Derrick here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline, and you just mentioned Charles Omenihu, that his practice window opened up this week along with Pacheco. How far out do you think they are from getting back in the game?
Yeah, it certainly sounds like Pacheco is closer. I wouldn't be stunned if he was back next week against Carolina. I mean, if they really want to be cautious, they could still hold him back for the Raiders game on Black Friday. But I think, hey, Pacheco looks pretty close. So, like I said, I wouldn't be stunned if it was next week. Omenihu, the word has always been that he's just a little bit further away. I think they're probably going to take as much of that 21-day window because, remember, he hasn't played football since January. He's got a much longer layoff than Pacheco has had. So he's probably got a little bit more time. It wouldn't be a surprise, like I said, if they took that whole 3 weeks with him to get him up to speed. But they're going to have both those guys back this month. I mean, I think it's pretty clear about that.
And to piggyback off of the Pacheco thoughts there, they've got to make a tough cut here coming up running back wise. Where do you think that cut comes from?
Yeah, I mean, and they do have a little bit of luxury as far as waiting, and we know the NFL, I mean, you can lose a running back at any time. You're right. I mean, once they put Pacheco back, they're going to have 5 running backs. They do have a free roster spot right now from the Cole Christensen move last week, and that was made specifically in mind with Pacheco and Minute coming back. So there's one spot. I mean, the Chiefs obviously have time. There could be another injury that avoids that decision. But, I mean, at the same time, it seems like Clyde's the odd man out because he's the one that has not been active. Certainly Carson Steele seems to give you something as a fullback and in different options. Samaje Perine, clearly a really good third down back, and that's somebody I think you trust. And you'd love to have, obviously, the two-headed monster of Pacheco and Kareem. So, yeah, I mean, you put all those together, and it does seem like Clyde's the odd man out. But at the same time, I have no idea what the Chiefs are going to do because they really like Clyde. And, I mean, even though he hasn't been playing, they feel like he's an important part of this team.
We've got a few more questions for Matt Derrick, who covers the Kansas City Chiefs over at ChiefsDigest.com. He joins us every Friday at this time for our Chiefs Insider. You can also go follow Matt at Matt Derrick on your preferred social media channel. He's on all of them at this point, as he told us earlier. Matt, what about this Bills team worries you the most outside of Josh Allen doing those Josh Allen things? We know he's got the big arm. He's been very accurate this year. We know he's a running threat. But outside of all he brings to the table, what is the most concerning thing about facing this Bills team?
I mean, to me, with the injuries that they've got, James Cook is the next thing up. I mean, that's the next guy. They're going to have to, I think, absolutely lean on him quite a bit. And he's given the Chiefs struggles, not just in the run game, but also in the passing game. He's had some really big days both directions and sometimes both at the same time. So, I mean, the Chiefs are going to get tested here. Their run defense has been really, really good. I think they can handle that challenge. But they haven't seen a lot of running backs that have skill out of the backfield that Cook does. So that's the matchup. If you can get Cook on Nick Bolton, I think that's a matchup that the Bills would love to see. I'm really intrigued to see how the Chiefs might use Leo Chenal and Jaden Hicks because both those guys I think would be really good to have in there as potential spies, not only on Josh Allen, but also maybe covering Cook out of the backfield, or at least, for Leo being, more of maybe a run defender and a spy at front, and Hicks more of a, maybe a spy on the back end, in the middle of the field. I think those two are, two of your better tacklers as well. So in open space, it's, who do you want Cook to match up against? And that's where I think that the Chiefs just have a difficult position because he is really hard to cover out of the backfield. And like I said, the Chiefs have had struggles with him before. So I think that's the guy you have to circle the most.
On the other side of the ball, is Wanya Morris going to be able to block either AJ Epinesa or Greg Rousseau?
I mean, it's a tough matchup. There's no doubt. Pick your poison. You're going to face one of them every single time. And, Wanya, I had good moments last week, and the Chiefs have been feeling pretty good about him. My partner in crime over on our podcast, and 41 is the Mike, Nick Jacobs, he was talking a little bit about, Wanya's numbers last week because he didn't give up. He only had one pressure that he gave up in 15 snaps against Nick Benito. And at the same time, Kingsley Suamataia gave up 4 in, I think, 13 snaps. And that's a stark comparison. But at the same time, those two guys attacked Wanya differently, or at least attacked that left tackle position differently. When Kingsley was in there, the Broncos just really went after him. With Wanya, Benito was either, maybe sometimes just the setup guy to allow pressure to come from other directions. And they were just kind of leaning on him to just take on Wanya one-on-one. And that's a good question. I mean, how can Wanya handle those guys one-on-one? Can he handle them more in some just run edge situations? It's going to be a challenge, and that's tough when you've got two guys that can go after you, and we know that sometimes even when Jawan's facing tough matchups on the other side, he can get a little happy with the snap count. I mean, this is going to be a difficult matchup for both those guys.
All right, last two quick questions here for our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. Make sure you check out the website for all of Matt's great coverage of the Chiefs and the Chiefs Digest YouTube channel as well. All right, first one, Matt, who you got in this one? Chiefs are a slight underdog on the road. Who you got on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a bad idea to bet against Patrick Mahomes as an underdog, but it happens. I mean, he has had not come through in the past. At sometimes in the past, it's been a while. I think he's 7-1 in his last, maybe 11-1 in his last 12 contests as an underdog. But this game is always so important to the Bills. I know they haven't won against the Chiefs at home in a while, but this always means more to them. They're retooled a little bit. I get the injuries. I mean, that should be another thing that's in the Chiefs' favor because amazingly the Bills are more banged up than the Chiefs are right now. But I felt like at the beginning of the season, this is the one game that the Chiefs were going to struggle to win because Buffalo was going to want it more. It wouldn't surprise me if Kansas City pulls out the victory, but I'm gonna stick with the guns and say the Bills eke it out 24-23.
All right, and real quick, the last one we've got for you here. Your Missouri Tigers. I thought Coach Drink said the playoffs are still on the table. They're a 14.5-point underdog this weekend. Matt, what's going on in Columbia?
I get it because Drew Pine looked so rough in most of that game. I mean, they did put up a ton of points in the last 3 minutes against Oklahoma in one of the craziest finishes I've ever seen. But I don't understand the 14 points given up against Carolina of all people. I mean, I don't feel like that they're that good, and the Mizzou's a ranked team. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. I mean, if Drew Pine plays, that's going to be a tough uphill battle. But I mean, I do think that at least in the last 3 minutes of the game last week, he learned, hey, just toss the ball to Luther Burden and Theo Weiss and let them go get it. And if you do that, good things happen. So
yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen this weekend?
Never a bad idea to get the ball to Luther Burden. Goodness gracious, he's a player. Matt Derrick covers the Kansas City Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com. Make sure you check out the website for his great coverage of the Super Bowl champs. Go subscribe as well to the Chiefs Digest YouTube channel. He joins us every Friday for our Chiefs Insider. Matt, we appreciate the time, my friend. Enjoy the game on Sunday, and we'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate it, Brendan. Take care, my friends.
That is the great Matt Derrick joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. We have to get to a commercial break. We'll come on back, play some Change My Mind to wrap up the hour of 580 Sports Talk. Finishing up the 3 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Big thanks, as always, to Matt Derrick for joining us. Covers the Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. I'm here with you until about 4:35 today. Then I'm off to Kansas City for Washburn men's basketball. Spencer Dupuis is with us in studio. He is with you for the rest of the show today. Spencer, we've got some Change My Mind. Last night's ugly K-State loss is by no means a death knell from this program. In fact, in the long run, it's not going to mean anything.
I mean, I think in the long run it's going to help them, but I think that one of your only big non-con games, you play like that, that's never a good look for your team.
I would agree with that. Yeah, the fact that the schedule is so flimsy, and you get LSU, and it's a total, you just lay a complete egg. I don't know that it means nothing, but I also think this team is going to be a lot better in February than it is in November. So I'm not worried yet.
It takes a lot of time for new players to get acclimated together.
Yeah.
Like once you play games and they sort out the rotation and the minutes, then it's a lot easier. And by that time you'll be in conference play, and you play in one of the best conferences, if not the best conference in college basketball, and that'll sort itself out.
Yeah, it's nice that you never need to worry about having enough good games to build your tournament resume. You just got to win them in conference play. That being said, it would be nice to test this group a little bit more, especially because they certainly failed that first test of the college basketball season. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, we've got our K-State player profile with Cody Stufflebean. We've got our Prairie Band Sportsbook football picks and What Is Wrong With You, all coming up after the news here on 580 Sports Talk.
starting right around 40 to 45 degrees. Pushing toward the mid to upper 60s later on Saturday. Lots of sunshine here with an increasing south wind. Clouds starting to stream our way Saturday night, and we're pretty cloudy Sunday with stray showers arriving through the afternoon, the high low 60s. Rainy weather likely Sunday night straight through Monday with some bouts of heavier rainfall. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Ramon from the Capital Federal Weather Center.
FM 104.9, 580 AM WIBW.
Now, 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk coming your way on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, along with FM News 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. Thank you so much for spending some of this feel-good football Friday afternoon with us. I am Brendan Dworzinski. On the other side of the glass, the one and only Spencer Dupuis. Dan Lucero is currently en route to Goddard, Kansas, down in the greater Wichita area for our 580 Preps high school football game of the week. Sectional round of the high school football playoffs. The Seaman Vikings are still alive. They are taking on Goddard Eisenhower coming up tonight. Two of the best wide receivers in the state of Kansas going head-to-head. That includes Briar Finley of Seaman. Two really darn good teams. If Seaman wins tonight, if I'm not mistaken, they are locked in, guaranteed to get a home playoff game in Sub-State coming up next week. Huge opportunity for Jared Swafford and the Vikings. That game is coming up tonight here on 580 WIBW. Kickoff at 7. Our coverage of high school football, though, will begin at 6 o'clock with this week's edition of the 580 Preps High School Football Coaches Club. And then Dan will have the call for you at 7 o'clock here again on 580 WIBW. We've also got plenty of Washburn sports coming your way today over on our sister station, Country 106.9. Grady Johnson will be on the call for Washburn women's basketball. The Ichabod women are on the road in Quincy, Illinois, taking on McKendree today. Second year in a row they've played McKendree. That game will start at 5 o'clock. It's scheduled to start at 5 o'clock on Country 106.9. Then yours truly will be taking over for the Washburn men. They play at 7 o'clock from Rockhurst in Kansas City. That game again over on Country 106.9. That is all coming up tonight here in this 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk today. We have our Prairie Band Sportsbook football picks for the week. It has been ugly, to say the least, for our group picking games. For me specifically, it's bad. I was ahead the first 3 weeks of the year, maybe 4, but I was clearly trending down by that point. I am in last by a game and a half behind Spencer.
I'm trending up.
You're trending up.
I was in last for the first half of the year.
Yeah, you've turned it around. I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
Dan is currently in first. He is right at 500, 26, and 1 push. We'll see if we can make up any ground coming up here in just a moment. We've also got today's What Is Wrong With You coming up. Banned from Ulta Beauty for Life. That is the name of our current winner. Well, loser, really. Spencer and I each have a news story to bring you today. Plus, we will hear from Cody Stufflebean of Kansas State football. We'll hear from the senior defensive lineman. It's our K-State player profile coming up a little bit later on this hour. Plus, Spencer's got an on-second thought for you, too, to wrap up this 4 o'clock hour. We want to hear from you. You can hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429 is the text line number. And you can also join us on YouTube. Head to youtube.com. Search 580 Sports Talk. That is the easiest way to go and find our YouTube channel. We are up to, unless I am shortchanging us one, if there's been a change today, no, 673 subscribers. Would love to get to that 700 number. I feel like we could do something fun. 700 is a big number. We'll do something fun when we get there. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go to 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, subscribe. Then you can watch along the video version of the show and hang out in the comment section as well, which is live and rolling all afternoon long.
Can I address the elephant in the room?
Sure.
So earlier on, I was performing other duties as assigned.
Yes. Ag specialist, Spencer Dupuis.
But I was waiting for stuff to come in, so I was listening over in the other studio.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard you talking crap about me. The Chiefs aren't going to win every game. We have realized that. Like, it's not going to happen, right?
No one has ever finished a season perfect since 1972.
Exactly. So if there was ever a time, it'd be now, coming out off the way they barely won the last game.
Yeah, Bills are favored.
You also don't have your normal kicker.
Mhm.
So if it's a close game, the trust factor there.
Fair point.
Which was also part of my keys to the game. You got to finish drive with touchdowns on a backup kicker. It's never ideal.
Yep.
So you got to do it. But unfortunately, I think this might just be the week.
Okay.
So I'm addressing those allegations.
Now,
It's just going to happen. It was bound to happen. It's got to happen. It's never not going to happen.
Now, see, I understand you defending your pick. Nothing wrong with picking the Bills. Bills are really good. The Bills are a Super Bowl contender. I'm surprised you didn't dive right in and say that you disavow clubbing baby seals.
I don't do that.
Okay. Do you hate puppies?
I love puppies.
Okay. See,
although I don't love the word puppies when it comes out of my girlfriend's mouth about wanting to buy one.
See, I think she's listening. She's not going to like that. You're going to start getting pictures from Helping Hands Humane Society here in a minute.
I already have.
Oh, good. I would never get a puppy. I do not have the patience to train a puppy. A dog, like a 3-year-old? Yeah, absolutely. I would absolutely do that. I don't think I could do a puppy, though.
I don't think so.
I don't have the patience for it.
I had a puppy growing up, and I realized how little patience I had as a kid, and the things the dog did, the potty training.
Yeah.
Even though you potty train it, doesn't always happen.
No, doesn't always work.
The amount of times I woke up to having to clean stuff up makes me not want a puppy.
I can understand that completely. So I did not mean to diminish your character, but it was also funny because you couldn't defend yourself.
Also, I'm going to defend myself from a comment in here. Where to go? I saw it. Basically, somebody said, I can't remember who it is. Let me see if I can find it. That I don't leave a penny. I do leave pennies.
In the take a penny, leave a penny. Yes, I believe that was Paul on YouTube who was also taking shots. Vance now says that he heard you like to punt kitties. Do you have a response to that?
No kitties. We don't like kitties, but we don't punt kitties.
Okay, fair. You know what? I'm in the same boat. I will agree with you. Not a cat guy.
Not a cat guy at all.
Dan is the only cat guy in the group, but he's also, again, not here to defend himself. All right, Spencer, let's get to the picks for this week. Our Prairie Band Sportsbook 580 Sports Talk Picks Contest. You can go find all of these picks via the Prairie Band website, and you can go head up to Prairie Band Sportsbook at the Prairie Band Casino and Resorts in Mayetta, just up 75 Highway. If you want to go place a bet, hang out in the Sportsbook, great place to go watch a game. So go check them out up in Mayetta. All right, let's get to the picks for this week. Dan is leading. He is 26-26-1. I am 23-29-1. Spencer, you are 25-28 overall. So I'm going to start with Dan's picks here. And the reason why is because he took two of mine. My favorite NFL pick and my favorite college pick of the week. He had both of them in and entered before I was even into our notes document to fill it out. And I'm not trying to game the system right now. I hate when we repeat picks. I let him take both.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't really let him. He had already put them in. I was late. I was delayed.
What was this for, NFL or college?
All right, so let's start with college. He's got Houston as a 1-point dog tonight against Arizona.
Is the game tonight?
The game is tonight, yes. Yes, I can confirm. I know for certain that game is coming up tonight. I don't think that line has moved at all. No, Houston is still a 1-point underdog on the road. I love that. I would take Houston. In fact, I will be upfront with you. I went to a certain sports book and I put Houston money line down on the ledger tonight. I am all over the Cougars in that one. I'm willing to let that blow up in my face. This feels like the right spot for Houston. Dan's other college football pick, Washington State, my wife's beloved Cougars, 10.5-point favorites on the road at New Mexico. Bronco Mendenhall's boys have a way to go. That feels like a good spot for a Washington State team that very legitimately has a chance to run the table for the rest of the year. So Dan's got Washington State there. My favorite NFL pick was the one that Dan got, Denver, -2, a 2-point favorite at home against Atlanta. That Broncos team has been better at getting after the quarterback. Kirk Cousins can't really move. I like that matchup. Denver's defense against Bijan Robinson and the run game. We know how good Denver was a week ago against the Chiefs, slowing down Kansas City's run offense like no one else has all over the course of the season. I think it's a fun matchup. I like Denver in the Mile High City to take down Atlanta.
That was his lock of the week. He said the Broncos offense isn't spectacular, but Bo Nix has had success when he's had time to throw. And a clean pocket. Good news for him. Atlanta's pass rush is virtually non-existent. I still don't know if the Broncos are good per se, but they're good enough to win this game and cover the spread at home.
I have no disagreements
From
with
one
what
Dan
Dan said.
Lucero.
You can go find our locks of the week, by the way, on our website, 580wibw.com. Dan's other NFL pick, it's a pick-em between Cleveland and New Orleans at the Dome.
Is it still?
Let's check. It was this morning. It was the last time I checked as well. Kind of interesting. So the Browns are now favored by a half a point. Dan's not here to say whether or not he's keeping it. But
it was one, I'm pretty sure, when he first did it this morning, because I went and asked him.
Cleveland favored by one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had never seen in my life of sports gambling the zero.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the pick 'em.
So I had to go talk to him about it.
Yeah.
And just tell him. And he's like, wait, it's zero now? It's pick 'em?
Yeah.
It was one before. So now it's changed again.
I am going to assume Dan is going to take Cleveland regardless. It was also published online, so it's all locked in.
Yeah.
Dan's wild card for the week, Jayhawks on the road in Provo. He's got the team total over 27.5 points for KU. I almost picked KU money line as my my wild card this week. I almost did it, but I chickened out. Although I wouldn't really say I chickened out because my wild card is preposterous.
Yeah.
All right, so those are Dan's picks. Spencer, why don't you give us your picks because you're ahead of me in the standings.
Yes, I am 25-28. Need a good weekend and we can get to 500. Although I'm not winning you any money, clearly.
Yeah, 4-1 would get you to 500.
That's true. I'd get over 500. If I was 4-1, I'd get over 500.
You're 25-28, so 4 wins would give you 29, and 1 loss would give you 29.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're right.
Don't explain math to me.
We'll start out with my lock of the week. Marshall, my alma mater, favored by 9.5 against Coastal Carolina at home.
I can't believe you picked Marshall. I'm shocked.
Given the game's proximity to the anniversary of the plane crash, obviously we talked about this yesterday. That was my final word. That yesterday was 54 years since the tragic plane crash. Marshall always finds a way to have amazing games. Back in, I think it was 2018. Now Kansas City Chief Najee Johnson had a game-sealing interception. They just seem to play well for the 75, and things are like supernatural in that game. Like they shouldn't win games, and they win games.
Sure.
So I'm going with them. That's my lock of the week, as well as my first college football pick. My next college football pick is Kansas State by 7.5 against Arizona State.
This is a bold pick.
Yeah, I wanted to be a little bold this weekend, so I picked them. My NFL pick, Miami favored by 7.5 over the Raiders. It's the Raiders. That's all I gotta say.
But it's the Dolphins.
Yeah, but I think the Dolphins are better than the Raiders.
They've been playing. Tua has been really good.
Yeah,
coming back.
Will Tyreek Hill have more than like 8 yards?
Yeah, man, it is.
I think he had like 15 yards and a touchdown last week.
No one's really talking about it because once Tua got hurt, the year pretty much ended for the Dolphins. But this season, Tyreek Hill, I got to pull up his full stats here. Tyreek Hill for the season, 37 catches, 462 yards.
Did you? I think it was 15 yards he had last week.
You are incorrect. Oh, man, you're not even close.
What?
It's 16 yards.
I knew.
You're close. Almost.
All right, my other NFL pick. This was a hard one for me to get my second NFL pick. I just couldn't really find a game that I liked.
Yeah, tough weekend.
Yeah, like I did like the Denver, but I wasn't going to make that pick, and I wasn't going to do a pick 'em. I got San Francisco favored by 6 in the hook against Seattle. Isn't McCaffrey coming back?
I do believe Christian McCaffrey is back and will be playing. That is my understanding. Yeah. I don't hate it, all things considered. I don't really know what to make of Seattle. Like, is Seattle good? Is Seattle a bad good team or a good bad team?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just really not sure what to make of them at this point. So, no, I think that's totally fair. What's your wild card for this week?
Avery Johnson over 49.5 rushing yards.
Okay, I saw A. Johnson, and I should have guessed that was Avery, but I thought, who the hell is A. Johnson? But okay, Avery makes
There's not
sense.
enough for Avery Johnson in there.
Yeah,
not enough space.
Hand up on that one. I should have just known that. They're at their best when he's on the move.
Exactly.
I don't know why we haven't even seen more of that. All right, let's get to my picks for the weekend. We'll start in college. It was our dumpster juice pick of the week yesterday with Paul Meyerberg of USA Today. Hawaii on the road in Logan, Utah to take on the Aggies of Utah State. I feel bad for Nate Dreiling, Kansas guy, youngest head coach in the country, put in a really, 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 really bad spot with that Utah State team when Blake Anderson got fired right before the season. That being said, Utah State is terrible. Hawaii's not good, but they're at least better than Utah State is. I will take the Rainbow Warriors. They are a 2.5-point favorite. Tennessee on the road. I'm taking two road teams here in college football, two home teams in the NFL. Tennessee is on the road this weekend. They are a 10-point underdog against Georgia. I know that Georgia is still very good, even though they are not playing especially well at the moment. I understand that. That being said, Spencer, I'm not betting on Carson Beck ever again. He's been terrible. He has been absolutely awful in the last few weeks. This line has actually moved. I don't think that matters, though, because it's already published, right? That's all good, all above board. Okay, we're locked in. Tennessee is now a 9.5-point underdog, so it's actually moving in the Volunteers' favor. I like Tennessee here. 10 points is a lot against a Georgia team that really can't throw right now. I'll take the team with the better quarterback, and I will take Tennessee on the road between the hedges as a 10-point dog against the Dogs. All right, NFL picks for the week. This is my lock of the week. Pittsburgh plus 3.5 at home against Baltimore. These teams always play close games. It feels like Baltimore, for one, has not trailed in a game by double figures in like 40 games or some crazy nonsense, or at least 40 games when Lamar Jackson's been their quarterback. It is utterly preposterous. Pittsburgh has been so much better than many people, myself included, thought they would be over the course of this season. I heard this stat from Ben Solak of ESPN. He was a guest on the Mina Kimes show, her podcast this week, doing their weekly preview. I think this is during the Mike Tomlin era, but I'm not sure how far back it goes. The underdog in Steelers-Ravens covers the spread 80% of the time. That is outrageous. And you're already giving me above the significant number. 3 and 7 are significant numbers in football. That's how many you score at a time. You're giving me 3.5 with a home dog in a rivalry game. I'm going to take them anyway. But knowing just how good Mike Tomlin has been at keeping it close and upsetting the Ravens in his career, I've got to go with Pittsburgh there. My other NFL pick, I don't love this one, but I'm comfortable enough-ish with it. I'm going with the Chargers. They're a 1.5-point favorite at home at SoFi, taking on the Bengals. Sunday Night Football, great Sunday night game. You're going to get a fun clash of styles. You get Jim Harbaugh under the lights. You get Burrow. You get a Herbert. Great matchup for Sunday Night Football. Great uniform matchup as well. Should be a lot of fun. I just don't trust Cincinnati, man. I trust Joe Burrow. I trust him as much as I trust any quarterback in the league this year. The problem is I don't really trust any of the guys around him or their defense. Their defense has gotten a little bit better over the course of the year, but still, the Chargers are a slightly above average rushing team. The run defense for the Bengals is, I believe, the 5th worst in the NFL, according to EPA. I just don't think they've got the horses defensively to slow down the Chargers enough. I will take Jim Harbaugh and Los Angeles. And finally, my wild card. This is gross. This is utterly gross. Ohio State is playing Northwestern at Wrigley Field in Chicago.
Why? I didn't realize that's where the game was.
So Northwestern is playing 2 home games at Wrigley.
Oh, I
year.
remember this. Yes.
Because Ryan Field is under construction.
And they're playing at some weird thing.
Yeah, they were playing at their practice field. They put up temporary bleachers and temporary scoreboards at the practice field right on Lake Michigan.
Which is sick, by the way.
Oh, it's awesome. It looks super cool.
But
but Ohio State has more fans that will travel than, say, Duke. So needed some more space. And they're playing this game at Wrigley Field. They're also going to play Illinois last week of the season at Wrigley Field. And they've done that before.
Yeah.
Games at Wrigley look terrible. Stop playing football games at baseball stadiums. They only go toward one end zone because the spacing is too small in the other one. It has to be return touchdowns to score on the opposite end zone.
Wait, really?
Ohio State,
Why don't you just play at the Bear Stadium?
Might not be allowed, might not be able to. That turf is so crappy. The grass is so crappy at Soldier Field. They probably can't turn it around. That would be my guess. I actually don't even know if
I just feel
Bears Packers is in Chicago or if it's at Lambeau this week.
I just feel like playing at a stadium where you have to drive one way is just dumb.
Yeah.
Why play?
Packers Bears is at Soldier Field this weekend, and that turf does not survive 1 week to the next, let alone 1 day to the next. So got to play it. I don't know. I go play at a high school somewhere. Go play at Bennett Field at Lyons Township High School. That would be a better setup. The total is 44. I think Ohio State's just going to run the ball and get out of there. I'm going under 44. Ohio State might score 44 on their own, but I'll take the under anyway. Those are our picks for this week. Again, our Prairie Band Sportsbook 580 Sports Talk Picks contest. If you want a recap of them, head to our website, 580wibw.com. You can also find the link on the WIBW News Facebook page. We owe you a break. We're going to pay some bills. We'll come on back. We've got our final What Is Wrong With You of the week coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, it's time to find our weekly champion in What Is Wrong With You here on 580 Sports Talk. 2 new stories going head-to-head today to try to take down banned from Ultra. I did it. Dan did it yesterday. I did it today. Banned from Ulta Beauty for life. The gentleman with marker scribbles all over his face, including a crown of thorns he drew on himself, has been arrested on a first-degree terrorist threat after threatening to blow up an Ulta Beauty in Alabama. Saying, quote, "I'm going to blow this bleep up." He has been banned from Ulta Beauty for life. He's also in jail. All right, Spencer, you're up first. Let's get to your story.
All right, we're going to Florida. I think it's Ocala. Is that
Ocala?
Okay.
Ocala.
An Amazon delivery driver is recovering after being attacked on his route in Ocala with an arrest of the alleged assailant captured on body cam footage. Authorities say Dana Hilliker, 37, jumped onto the moving delivery van and scratched the driver, leading to his arrest. The incident took place Sunday on Northwest Gainesville Road near Hilliker's home. According to the arrest report, Hilliker yelled at the driver to slow down, and when the driver continued, Hilliker allegedly jumped on the front of the truck, forcing it to a stop. The report details how Hilliker then latched onto the driver's side door, grabbing the driver's shirt and scratching his arms and legs. Quote, the driver said he had to punch Hilliker multiple times to free himself, the report states.
Jeez.
Deputies later explained to Hilliker that his actions constituted burglary as captured in the body cam footage. Former Orlando Police Chief Orlando Roland told Fox 35 News that Hilliker could have handled the situation by filing a complaint with Amazon or alerting law enforcement instead of confronting the driver. He's now facing battery and burglary charges and is due in court next month after posting bond.
Okay, this guy is horrible, obviously, and the chief of police is correct. However, the chief of police is named Orlando.
That's I hadn't, to be honest with you, I've been so busy today, I didn't read the story beforehand. I read the lead, and it caught me off guard. That's like, if you could see me hesitating, I was like, is this right?
Former Orlando Police Chief Orlando Roland.
Also, this guy definitely looks like he would do something like this.
Yeah, this is too much.
He
man.
looks like he would jump onto an Amazon truck and then scratch somebody up and down the arms.
Dude is just doing his job, man. Trust me, it is not his fault, whatever your problem is. All right, my story is going to take us down to Fort Myers, Florida, so very nearby, where the Lee County Sheriff's Office arrested a man who stands accused of attempted burglary while wearing nothing but a white cloth over his head. And yes, I really do mean nothing but a white cloth over his head. 30-year-old Gennaro Rossetti was arrested on Friday after a burglary call was made at a home located on McGregor Boulevard in Fort Myers. According to the sheriff's office, the caller was sitting in his home Thursday night when he witnessed a nude man. Why is everyone naked? Why is there so much nudity when these people are committing crimes? They witnessed a nude man with a white piece of cloth covering his face, attempting to enter the building through the lanai. They have lanais in Florida. While approaching the sliding glass window of the home, the caller activated his alarm, scaring the man. He then fled in an unknown direction. Upon interviewing with law enforcement, the caller said he recognized the man who attempted to enter his home the night before. He was wearing the same headpiece along with a black backpack and blue clogs. Deputies received additional calls regarding a similar incident to the male caller, with witnesses saying they had seen a nude man wearing nothing but a white cloth over his head attempting to enter the homes. This is ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Why are you nude?
Yeah.
The witnesses gave deputies ring camera footage, which shows the man entering properties while concealing his face. Deputies began to search for the nude interloper, eventually finding him at the corner of McGregor and San Carlos Boulevards. He has since been identified and arrested. He is charged with loitering and prowling. Quite the charges.
There's like so many new things that I'm learning that you can be charged with.
Yeah.
Like the way they term them.
Prowling.
Like that guy that I just had got charged with burglary.
Yeah. Well, that's a fairly normal one.
But what did he steal?
That's true. Kind of like unlawful possession almost. That's interesting. That's a good point. I don't know why that falls under the burglary law. Prowling is just such a funny one. I mean, it's terrible, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
All right, Spencer, who you got today?
I think I got yours.
Why are you naked?
Yes, like At least this guy was like near, like the one I had, he was near his house. He just got really mad and jumped on the van. He wasn't like naked prowling around.
Put on some damn pants. All right, I'm with you. I think that one wins. I do not think it beats Band from Ulta
Nope.
Beauty, though.
I
No,
don't think anybody can. That's going to be a good November contender.
that is a heck of a story, and it is our winner for this week in What Is Wrong With You. I am out of here. I'm on my way to Kansas City for Washburn men's basketball. The Washburn women are starting in just over 20 minutes over on Country 106.9. I will follow with the men from Rockhurst. Spencer's got you the rest of the way, and we'll hear from K-State's Cody Stufflebean on the other side of this timeout, right here on 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW.
WIBW, Topeka.
440 on 580 Sports Talk, the youngest in command movement. Happy to have you with us here on 580 Sports Talk, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9. Spencer Dupuis, happy to have you with me, taking the reins for the final hour and 20 minutes of the show. Earlier this week, Dan caught up with Kansas State's Cody Stufflebean, senior defensive lineman, and that is our Kansas State player profile We'll have it right here on 580 Sports Talk.
This week's K-State player profile on 580 Sports Talk introduces us to the senior defensive end from McPherson, Cody Stufflebean. Cody, coming off of a bye week, what did you get a chance to do over the weekend to get away from football a little bit?
Me and my wife got to go to Kansas City and just kind of hang out and get away for a little bit, which was really refreshing.
What did you do out there in Kansas City for fun?
One of her friends had an engagement party, so we went to that, and then we just kind of stopped around and ate some of their food that we don't always get here.
No, that's very true. Barbecue or what was the move?
We actually went to Mo Betta's, the Hawaiian food.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So
Yeah.
you got away from football for the weekend. Did you get a chance to watch any games, or were you happy to kind of just decompress and get away from it all for the weekend?
We actually were flipping back and forth between two, the Iowa State and Colorado game were the two that we picked to watch.
Those were the two that I was watching as well. So we had a we had a very similar Saturday, it turns out. Well, you'll have a very different week this week than me because you'll be getting ready to play the Arizona State Sun Devils. And Cody, I know you're never satisfied as a group, even after the good games. I've talked to enough of your teammates to know that even after wins, even after good performances, you're never quite satisfied. You're always looking to improve. So as a group, going into these final 3 games of the regular season, what are you guys focused on getting better at on the defensive side of the ball?
I think Coach Kleiman's kind of talked about it a lot throughout this season, and just playing with our fundamentals and really great technique. I think that's something that we've kind of struggled with. We've shown that we can be really good at one or the other, but haven't quite been able to put it all together. And so I think just being able to play a complete game for us in that aspect would be really great.
You are going to play a team in Arizona State that likes to run the football. We don't know about the availability as we speak on this Monday afternoon of their star running back, Cam Scadaboo, but they're a physical running team even when he's not on the field. As a defensive lineman, does that make you more excited to know you're going to be in a game where the pads are popping and you're going to have to win in the trenches if you want to win the football game?
Yeah, I'd say so. It definitely kind of brings a challenge to you and sets a tone for the whole week that your preparation is really important that week. It's definitely kind of how you take every week, but even more so then that you can try and pick up on some keys so you know what to expect and the certain types of runs that they'll be bringing to you.
We're talking to Cody Stufflebean, senior defensive end for the Kansas State Wildcats here on 580 Sports Talk. Cody, you've got a pretty deep group this year at defensive line, and that means that you're, as a senior, maybe mentoring some of the younger guys. What kind of example are you trying to set for the guys that you know are going to be a part of this program for a couple of years after you depart?
Yeah, I think with us having such a deep room, it just shows that, like, you can't go out to practice and just goof around and mess around because you have somebody else right there that's willing to be just as good or better than you going into the game. So, like, you have to prepare at a really high standard, and I think that's something that we're kind of setting in our room as a really great example for those people that can be carried on after we're gone.
What would senior Cody Stufflebean want to go back in time to tell freshman Cody Stufflebean, besides, hey, don't spend too much time with this offensive playbook, you're not going to be a tight end for very long? Other than that, what would you go back and tell your freshman self about the ways that you have learned to make yourself a better football player and a better teammate?
Yeah, I think just being there, I was really fortunate to come into a room that had a lot of great and talented players, and just a really, like, as a defense as a whole, with between, like, I think about Eli Huggins and Austin Moore, and just try and soak up as much as you can from those type of guys, because they do a lot of great things here and they set a great standard for the program.
Do you have a young guy, like in the NFL, they talk about, young players talk about having a vet, having the guy that they kind of really study and look up to and try and soak up, as you put it, as much information from as possible. Have there been a couple of the younger guys in that defensive line room this year that you've noticed that you're spending some extra time with, that you feel like you've had an extra opportunity to really mentor?
Yeah, I would say kind of as a whole, we do everything together, because I would say, like, not one person wants to get left out. You kind of get left behind in that regard. So I would say, honestly, we all kind of stick pretty close together and try and do extra things together. And so I couldn't necessarily say, like, one person, but just us as a whole sticking together and trying to get a little extra here and there to make us better on Saturdays.
Our guest is Cody Stufflebean, the senior defensive lineman from McPherson, joining us, our K-State player profile here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, you're going to have to settle this one for me. In one corner, we have your teammate, Brendan Mott, one of the conference leaders in sacks, and his post-sack celebration, which is a wholesale ripoff of Conor McGregor's arm swing walk that he does. Hey, look, you lead the conference in sacks. You can do whatever you want. But that was Conor McGregor's thing first, and that is Brendan Mott's celebration. In the other corner, we have Toby Osinsomni and his frozen-in-place sack celebration that we got to see on that strip sack against Houston last week. Which of those is better?
Yeah, I don't know if Toby's comes from a great place either. He saw kind of a street performer in Bourbon Street do it, and that's kind of where he stole his from. So I don't know which one's better in that regards, but I would say just when you look out there and you see some dude frozen in the middle of the field, it's pretty hysterical. So I'd definitely say I think I'm going to have to give this one to Toby.
Yeah, and I've talked to Brendan, and I enjoyed getting to know Brendan earlier this year. But, yeah, I got to give the nod to Toby on that one. It cracks me up every time I've seen it this year. It's reliable for a laugh. You've got one sack on the year. It came against Colorado. You got a chance to put Shadur Sanders on the turf. If you get another one here in these final 3 weeks, what's going to be your go-to? Do you have a celebration in mind, or you just kind of go with the flow?
I'll just kind of go with the flow, and not really something that I plan on throughout the week. So I guess we'll have to see.
Hey, fair enough. We're talking to Cody Stufflebean, the senior defensive lineman from McPherson, our K-State player profile. Being from McPherson, that's one of the small towns in Kansas that I think is most readily associated with athletics and with athletic success. Obviously, tremendous tradition on the basketball court over the years there, but also success on the gridiron too. Growing up in a place like that, going to a high school there, what was that like, and how much did that challenge you and prepare you for the expectations of wanting to be great, wanting to be successful, and wanting to win every time you take the field?
Yeah, I would say I had some really great leaders in front of me when I was a sophomore that I kind of stuck to, and they showed me how they prepared and just a little bit to expect throughout high school. I mean, it's different than college, but being able to see those examples that they had and how they expected to go out and win every game set a great example for me, and I think that's carried over to here as well.
Other than all of that, what was your favorite part about growing up in McPherson?
I would say just how the community cares about athletics and how everybody goes out to support all the sports that you kind of mentioned. It reminds me a lot of being here and how Manhattan cares about a lot about athletics and how much community support you get.
Couple of more questions for Cody Stufflebean on our K-State player profile here on 580 Sports Talk. Your bio at kstatesports.com says you are an industrial engineering major. Tell me what attracted you to that field of study and what you might like to do with it when your playing days are over.
Yeah, I've always been interested in engineering. Whenever I was little, I always wanted to know how things worked, and then I kind of focused on industrial engineering when I got here because I cared more about like the ergonomic side of it and saving time and money in businesses, and that's why I settled on that. And then after this, I don't know, I'm interested in manufacturing, but really just trying to solve problems and save companies money is kind of what I'm interested in.
Outstanding. Do you have a pretty heavy class workload now, or what is that day-to-day look like for you as far as the classes you have to take in that field?
Yeah, I try and take the season as easy as possible where I can just be in 12 credits and then make up the time in the spring, in the summer. But I would say that I'm definitely pretty busy. After you get done with practice, you have to go home and do homework for an hour or two. So the days get kind of long sometimes throughout the season.
Last thing for you, Cody, you've obviously had a tremendous career and gotten a lot of great opportunities on the gridiron at Kansas State. And hopefully there are even more of them to come. Maybe this is a question that you'll have a different answer for if I asked you after bowl season, after the college football playoff. But when you look back on your playing days at Kansas State one day, what will you be proudest of? What will stick out most in your memory?
Yeah, I think probably this final year, just being able to come back, and my main goal was to try and be one of those better mentors for people that I had the ability to be around when I was younger. And so I think that I solidified that when the team voted me as a team captain, which I take a lot of pride in, and try and always be my best for the people that decided that.
Cody Stufflebean, senior defensive end from McPherson, another in-state success story for Kansas State football. He is our K-State player profile this week. Cody, enjoyed so much getting to know you and wish you the best of luck this Saturday against Arizona State, the rest of the season as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's that time where we choose who we think is the best candidate for office. It's a difficult decision that requires the evaluation of contenders. They have the appropriate skills and experience for this office. Are they the right type of leader? Do they have a clear vision? Selecting the right candidate is no easy feat. That's why, for your office, there's ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes choosing the right candidate for any office easy because they only find and send you the most qualified people for your roles.
Welcome back, 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Bowie with you here for the last hour plus. Says, well, it's time for On Second Thought. I've got a couple On Second Thoughts, some pertaining to personal life, sports, and Chiefs. On second thought, did I think the other night when I went to the Jelly Roll concert in Kansas City that I could in fact find a restaurant in Power and Light District to go to with my girlfriend before we got to the concert when we got to KC at 5:30. I was very wrong. We went to 3 different ones, tried to go in, and they were like, it's going to be a 45-minute wait. It's going to be an hour and 30-minute wait. It's going to be an hour and 40-minute wait. And That wasn't going to work with the concert starting before 7 o'clock. So we ended up with trusty old Chipotle, saved some money there. So we were in the top sections, and we ended up getting floor seats. And top life moment happened. I got to dap up Jelly Roll as he was walking by to go to his B stage. So that was pretty fun. On second thought, I thought it was going to be easier to get out of the concert. We got a garage in the Power and Light, and it was not at all easy to get out of there. Also, last night, thought the Commanders were going to be able to pull it out. On second thought, they did not. And for the Chiefs, I thought the injury bug was over. I really thought the injury bug had bitten the Chiefs enough and it was over. But no, Harrison Butker, torn meniscus, had surgery today, lands on the injured reserve. He'll be out at least 4 games. Now they bring in a kicker off of the Jets practice squad in Spencer Schrader. He's kicked a few times in games, so I'm not disappointed in that, but it's the Chiefs. You got to be the best on the Chiefs. So that will do it here for this final segment of the 4 o'clock hour. In the 5 o'clock hour, I'll have some headlines for you. We'll have voice of the Chiefs Mitch Holthus on. He had talked to Dan yesterday because we were off early due to K-State women's basketball. We'll talk to him. He got some extended time with him as well. And our KU player profile with Mike Ford, senior offensive lineman for the Jayhawks. And final word, that's coming up next on the final hour of 580 Sports Talk. So we take you home for the rest of the work week. This is 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Final hour of 580 Sports Talk, and the final 580 Sports Talk of the week. We are just so close to the weekend, so close to a great sports weekend of action, wall to wall. I mean, you have some great. If you're locally, you got some great Washburn action taking place right now on Country 106.9 for women's basketball. Then later, you'll have men's basketball with Brendan Dorzinski heading out to Kansas City for that one, and then you got Washburn. You got high school football tonight. We have Seaman on our airwaves tonight as they travel south to take on Eisenhower. That'll be a 6 p.m. pregame with Coaches Club, and 6:30 Dan Lucero will be on site down near Wichita. And then tomorrow we got Kansas State football, you got Washburn football, you got Kansas football, and you got some basketball sprinkled in there as well. And Sunday you got the Chiefs. A lot of great sports weekend coming up for you. Let's figure out what we're doing this hour. Let everybody know. First, we'll start here this segment. Obviously, your normal 5 p.m. 5:06 slot for sports headlines. Coming up, a lot of NFL injury-related news. We'll start with the Chiefs and then go throughout the rest of the NFL. We'll have a special interview today. Dan Lucero yesterday caught up with voice of the Chiefs Mitch Holthus at the usual time slot on Thursdays because we couldn't air it yesterday or have him on live yesterday because of Kansas State women's basketball on the air. That'll be coming up second segment here right around 5:22-ish, 5:23. Then we'll have Kansas player profile with Mike Ford, senior offensive lineman, coming up around 5:40-ish. And then we will have our final word coming up. I'll be able to maybe we'll get some AMAs in there, Mark. Maybe. It just depends on the timing of how we get with these interviews. We will figure out how that goes once we get there. But let's get into our headlines for the week. We'll start first with the Chiefs injury report. We do have official designations for the injury report. Obviously, we do know that Butker's headed to the injured reserve. Well, now on the injured reserve. They do expect him to be kicking later in the season, Andy Reid said earlier today. He said he wasn't certain of a timeline for the return for Butker, who underwent surgery today after tearing his meniscus, but said he would be back this season. He's placed on the IR, which means it'll be at least 4 games. That includes this weekend's game against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. He's eligible to return as soon as week 15 as they take on the Browns in Cleveland then. Butker has since taken to social media. He tweeted that his procedure was a success. He missed 4 games early in 2022 season with a sprained ankle, and things did not go well with the Chiefs without him. One of their replacements, Matt Amendola, missed a short field goal and an extra point in one of the games without Butker, a 3-point loss to the Colts. His replacement this year is rookie Spencer Strader, who kicked in 2 games this season, one for the Colts and one for the Jets. He made both of his field goal attempts last week for the Jets. Obviously, we know Butker's one of the most accurate kickers in NFL history. He's 3rd all-time, having made 89.2% of his field goals attempts since joining the Chiefs as a rookie in 2017. This year, he is 18 of 20 for 90%. Reid acknowledged today that the Chiefs are heading into an unknown as opposed to having the reliability of Butker. He said, quote, he's a young guy, so his resume isn't long, Reid said of Strader. Let's look at the rest of the injury report. So the Chiefs earlier this week opened the practice windows for defensive end Charles Omenihu and running back Isaiah Pacheco. Omenihu with the knee that he suffered in the postseason last year, and Isaiah Pacheco the ankle that he suffered earlier this season. Both were limited in practice all week, but they opened the window. They didn't designate them to return just yet, so they will both be out for the game. They're the only players out for the game on the injury report. As with Butker moving to IR, he's removed from the injury report. That means Juju Smith-Schuster will be back this week, a hamstring injury. He was limited on Wednesday, but a full participant on Thursday and Friday, and no game designation. It also means we will see Mike Dana, McCall Hardman, DeAndre Hopkins, Kareem Hunt, George Karlaftis, Wanye Morris, and Derrick Nottie, who have all also dealt with injuries, along with Patrick Mahomes, who was never in doubt to play in the game. For the Bills, things not so great for them. They've got 3 players out. One of those players, though, Matt Milano, linebacker, who was on the injured reserve, designated to they designated his practice return. He was limited as well this week, but he is not going to get activated to the active roster. Out is tight end Dalton Kincaid with a knee injury. He didn't practice all week. Also out is wide receiver Keon Coleman with a wrist injury. He didn't practice all week. And questionable is two players, Spencer Brown, offensive lineman, with an ankle. He didn't practice on Wednesday and Thursday, but was limited today in their walkthrough. So he's questionable. And wide receiver Amari Cooper, also dealing with a wrist injury. He was limited all week, but he is questionable. He will probably go, barring something else that happens. But you saw other players that are at least dinged up and on the injury report. Josh Allen with a left hand, Christian Benford, the corner, with a wrist injury, Terrell Bernard, the linebacker, ankle and pectoral injury, Kareer Elam, the corner, with a shoulder injury, Reggie Gillum, the fullback, with a hip injury, Mac Hollins, the receiver, with a shoulder injury, Daquan Jones, the defensive tackle, a foot injury, Quentin Morris, the tight end, with a shoulder and hamstring injuries, Taylor Rapp, the safety, with foot and shoulder injury, Curtis Samuel, receiver, with a pec and a foot injury, and Casey Toohill with the knee, along with Dorian Williams. All those guys practiced all week. They were just on the injury report. So, if they get nicked up in the game and go out, that would be why, as they've been dealing with a lingering injury. Let's get the latest on anything else, any other players, any notable inactives or players out this week. This posted an hour ago from Adam Schefter. 49ers tight end George Kittle is questionable for Sunday's game against Seattle due to a hamstring injury. Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton and tight end Isaiah Likely were off the practice injury report. They're good to go in a big pivotal AFC North game on Sunday as the Ravens take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Jaguars have once again officially ruled out Trevor Lawrence and running back Tank Bigsby for Sunday's game against the Lions. Seahawks wide receiver DK Metcalf off the injury report. He'll be good to go. The Lions also have ruled out Sam Laporta, and that one big injury for Laporta. And looks like T. Higgins expected to play for the Chargers this week. Let's see some other injuries as things go. I don't think we've got many other injuries on that front. Let's get into some other headlines here. The NBA is in serious talks about a tournament-style All-Star game. They're in serious discussion on a new tournament format for the 2025 All-Star game, consisting of 3 All-Star teams of 8 players each, in the winner of the Rising Stars game, sources told ESPN today. League officials discussed the new format Friday with the competition committee consisting of governors, team executives, players, coaches, and union personnel. Sources said the 4 teams would face each other in matchups. For instance, Team 1 versus Team 3 and Team 2 versus Team 4. The winners would move on to the final round of a tournament. NBA team executives, coaches, and players have discussed new All-Star game concepts with league officials over the past 6 months, including extensive conversations of the Summer League in Vegas in July. There have been discussions for a fresh and creative path forward for the All-Star game and this quick burst 4-team tournament. Among the game's greatest players gained momentum among all parties, according to those sources. Steph Curry, the face of the host 2025 All-Star City, Golden State in the Bay Area, is going to host that. He has joined All-Stars in input for this year's event. Curry and WNBA star Sabrina Alonsky of the New York Liberty participated in the first NBA versus WNBA 3-point challenge at All-Star Saturday this February. And basically, there's thought that could return again. I think this is good for the NBA. I am not a big NBA fan, quite honestly. It's not as fun as college basketball. We've talked about this. And, growing up seeing a team like the Wizards was not great to become a fan of an NBA team during, my younger years. So I think this could be great. The All-Star Game scheduled for February 16th at San Francisco's Chase Center. So I think that could be great to kind of revive it. And it's a fun spin on things. I think obviously the NFL's try to do way too much in flag football. Like nobody watches it anymore. I remember when the Pro Bowl was like a spectacle to watch back in, 05 or 06 when Sean Taylor nailed the punter on a play. That was a great play in Pro Bowl history. I think, the Jeff Saturday, Peyton Manning thing when, Jeff Saturday was on the Packers for his final year and Peyton Manning was on, I believe, the Broncos at that point, or maybe he was still on the Colts, and they snapped to each other. I think stuff like that's cool, but the NBA trying to do something to get fans back into it because we talked about it after the All-Star Game. It was not fun to watch whatsoever. I don't think that it would be fun in its current form whatsoever. We also have some news, NBA adjacent news. Kion Anthony, Carmelo Anthony's son and the number 36 player in the ESPN 100, has committed to Syracuse over USC. He's the number 1 player in New York as well. And so he's going to Syracuse to continue his education and his basketball prowess. He'll make it to the league. I could guarantee it. Some other news coming out of NFL. Joey Bosa's no injury designation. He will play for the Chargers, but Khalil Mack is questionable for the Chargers this weekend. We will step aside for our break here. When we come back, we'll hear Dan Lucero's interview or his conversation with voice of the Chiefs Mitch Holthus after the show yesterday. It's a longer one, so stay tuned for all you Mitch Holthus enjoyers out there. We will step aside and take a break. When we come back, we'll have that interview coming up on 580 Sports Talk.
We are visited every week by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. That is a courtesy of our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Kristen Ambergy about the credit union advantage of getting your first or next home loan. And Mitch, you have been privy to a lot of roars at Arrowhead Stadium in your time as the voice of the Chiefs, but there are few roars that compare to one on a walk-off victory, particularly a walked-off blocked field goal against a division rival. What was it like in the stadium, that moment of tension before Will Lutz's 35-yard attempt, and then that moment of release after Leo Chanel batted it down?
Well, let's stop for a second. You do play-by-play, and you always want to hit it just right. And, you'll get some, you're like, yeah, nailed it. Or you're like, I wish I would have said this. Now, there was a 1% chance of that field goal being blocked, so maybe I got to give myself some grace. But don't you think I wish I would have said it's not a walk-off but a block-off?
Yeah, that would have been a good one to come up with right off the rip.
Yeah, Peter Schrager would have loved it on an NFL Network. But in an instantaneous – to answer your question, seen Will Lutz kick a lot, 9-year veteran, Saints, Broncos, obviously. And I'm thinking, man, this is chip shot for him. But you'll hear the play-by-play. You'll hear me say, almost parenthetically and somewhat prophetic, like reading an Old Testament prophecy of Isaiah, Jeremiah. I go, the Chiefs will try for a blocked field goal here. Now, it's a 1% chance and probably a 1% of a 1% chance that you're going to get a walk-off field goal block. So for that to happen in such unexpected fashion was the pop that you got from the crowd. And it's a moment I will never forget. You can go 2 lifetimes and never see it. Very similar to the 13-second Kelsey game, and something that's so improbable that it just freaks you out. So that was the feeling. Amazing play. And now we know that it was not just luck. Those guys were going to cave that dude in on the left side. And honestly, let me just add to this. I'm giving you a long answer, and I apologize. But the fact that the Broncos moved the ball on purpose to the right hash actually played into the Chiefs' block. I was talking to Dave Tobe today. If they kick it middle, they would have left that on. But if they're in the other hash, they would have not caved in that left side B gap. So Denver actually played into the Chiefs' hands, and no pun intended, Leo Chanel's hands. But, yeah, remarkable play, remarkable moment, won't be forgotten.
It's the little things that win the close football games, and we keep talking about them because the Chiefs keep winning. If we sound like a broken record on this stuff, Mitch, it's because the Chiefs are 9-0. Like, it would be different if we were not talking about the little things, because maybe that would mean that the little things broke the other way. But the Chiefs keep getting those little things right, and our expectations for this team are so high. The standard that they have set with the 3 championships in recent memory are so high that sometimes we lose a little bit of perspective. When you look at that game and look at the defensive performance, a second half shutout against an offense that came in performing well, had a good scheme, made some big plays in the first half, and the defense dug in and pitched that second half shutout and got the stops they needed to get with some help from the special teams to pull out another close game.
Yeah, remind me to come back to it because it's really the center of my nugget of the night for you this evening. But yes, we overlooked the fact that defense now, the last drive against Tampa where they tied it up, and the drive where they couldn't get Denver off the field at the end, so Denver had the chance to try for that field goal. But this defense is doing remarkable things. You're looking now at 30 straight games of not giving up 28 points or more. That'll be challenged by Buffalo. But that hasn't happened since Coach Reed's 0-0 and 0-1 Philadelphia Eagle team. And it's amazing what this defense does, and when it's up against the toughest circumstances. And I'll get to that in my nugget of the night. But, yeah, you're dead on, man. Very astute observation that we just overlook or take for granted just at the high level of this defense and what they're doing, especially when they're doing it. And I think a lot of the national pundits have missed that.
Mitch Holthus is our guest, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us again, a courtesy of our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Let's turn our focus to Bills week, and this is a red letter game on the NFL schedule. They have met 7 times now since the 2020 regular season. The Chiefs have a 4-3 record in those games. It's 3-3 over the last 6. The Bills are 3-0 in the regular season. The Chiefs are 3-0 when the stakes are higher in the postseason. It's a fascinating dichotomy between these two teams. It's a different looking Bills team this year, 8-2, still all about Josh Allen, but they're different in some ways offensively surrounding their outstanding quarterback.
Yeah, being all about Josh Allen is there. What's the other part of it is they are living off takeaways. Absolutely living off them. They have 19 takeaways, by far the most in the league. And Josh Allen has changed his game. Last year, he was hemorrhaging interceptions at this point. They were 6-6 when they beat us in December, and he had 18 interceptions. This year, he only has 4, but those 4 have come in the last 3 games. He went his first 7 games with no picks. They only have 6 giveaways. Moreover, those 19 takeaways have led to 77 takeaway points. Now, they have had either even or plus in the turnover margin in all 10 games this year. That's unheard of in the NFL. This is a very different Buffalo team than the Chiefs faced in January in many ways, personnel-wise. Quiz question of the night. How many wide receivers will play in this game Sunday that played for Buffalo in that game in January, in that divisional game?
Gosh, I don't think any of them. Diggs is obviously gone. Gabe Davis is obviously gone. They're dealing with some injuries. I'm not sure any wide receivers.
Khalil Shakir is it. That's it. Khalil Shakir. That's all. And he's having a good year, but you're just looking at a vastly different team. Remember, they talk about these guys in the offseason, especially when they let Diggs go to the free agent market, is their window closing? Maybe Buffalo's, so I'll give them credit. That guy asked Coach Reed about today, about them kind of reorganizing and recalibrating, much like we have done, because look at our receiving core compared to what was on the field last January. It's hilarious. No Worthy, no Juju Smith-Schuster, obviously no D-Hop. I mean, it's Justin Watson. So, and McCole Hardman, that's it. So it's just kind of crazy how these two teams are setting here at 17-2 combined, and yet very different than last January.
I wanted to come back to that point about the wide receivers for the Chiefs, Mitch, because it does appear that Juju Smith-Schuster is on track to play on Sunday, and we have not seen Juju and DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce on the field together, the top 3 healthy receiving weapons right now for the Kansas City Chiefs. How do you think the addition of Juju enhances the dynamic that the Chiefs passing game has had in the last 3 games since Hopkins joined the team?
Well, my nugget of the night last week was what D-Hop has done to influence Patrick Mahomes in this offense in the games he's played, now 3. And it's glaring, night and day, of what the Chiefs were in the first 6 and what they've been in the last 3 with D-Hop. Now just add one more piece with Juju, and that means the third guy on defense for Buffalo, whomever that is that a safety? Is that a linebacker? You're playing nickel? Well, okay, you're going to play nickel. Does that mean you're going to leave a safety on Xavier Worthy who can run right by you? And the Chiefs are really close to popping another one to him. I'm excited. Cannot wait to see D-Hop and Juju and Kels and Xavier Worthy on the field at the same time. Almost the level of excitement that I had when it was Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce. We're getting back to that, not necessarily the speed, the productivity, and the way that you can torment defensive coordinators and defensive players.
Mitch Holthus is our guest. Couple of more questions for the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, who joins us every week on 580 Sports Talk, thanks to Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Patrick Mahomes has been sacked 8 times in the last 2 weeks, and I think some of that is a function of the Chiefs running some longer development. line get back on track this week and really hold that Buffalo pass rush at bay?
It's imperative, because that leads to a lot of the takeaways I told you about 2 paragraphs ago. And Epinesa, they're both very long, and they've both made the same play against Patrick Mahomes for interceptions in 2 different years. In the 21 season, it was Rousseau. As a rookie, he tips a pass because he's got 7-foot wingspan, and he's 6'6". So think about Chris Jones playing on the outside, and that was an interception. Play was set up to go for 20 yards, tip, pass, pick. And then last year, Epinesa did the same thing in the regular season game at GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. Now, Von Miller's still there, but he's way at the end of the road, although he can make a play here and there. What the Chiefs have to stay away from is this lightning fast where Pat doesn't even have a chance. And that happened twice last week. Now, that's when Kingsley Suamatia was in there against Nick Bonito. And that's where you're going to get Pat really injured and turn the ball over against these guys in a sack strip type situation. And that's what these guys do, or lead to an interception off a tip pass that gets to the 2nd or 3rd level. So it's imperative. Now, Pat this week may be a little more in tune with going to his checkdowns, meaning he's waiting. He knows it's close to getting worthy one of these bombs again. And he's got D-Hop and he's got Juju, all the stuff we mentioned a little bit ago. But he also has the more subtle attack that's part of this, and that is throwing to those backs, either in a check down or a design. Last week, I don't think I gave you this, maybe I did, as a nugget of the night. The Denver, in 3rd and 10 plus, had only allowed 2 conversions in 27 attempts, and both were scrambles for runs. The Chiefs had 2 conversions on passes, and one was to the running back, Samaje Perine, in a scramble situation. The other one was, D-Hop was the other one, a 30-pluser, but you had a check down throw to Kareem Hunt. Now, in the flat, a check down isn't necessarily a concession of the play, especially when you get a Kareem Hunt, because now if he breaks a tackle, that's a 15-yard play, especially teams playing man-to-man or deep cover safeties. They can't get there in time. So Pat might want to check down a little quicker in this game. Depends on the opponent. But in this game, I'm going to tell you right now, and I might be wrong, if the Chiefs are even or +1, they're going to beat these guys. And if Patrick gets one more click of time, he can get after the secondary, which has given up a whole bunch of 20-plus pass plays. This is not Micah Hyde in his prime. It is not Jordan Poyer in his prime. It is not Tre'Davious White in his prime. New DBs, young DBs, some good ones. Taron Johnson's good as the nickel, but they're giving up a whole bunch of big plays. The other thing that's happening, Dan, is this Buffalo defense is giving up a bunch of big run plays. The Chiefs should be able to run the ball in this game. And I'm just telling you, this is stuff you don't hear in the narrative about the Buffalo Bills, because they want to look at all the Chiefs cavities, but they really don't look at Buffalo and go, well, wait a minute. This 8-2 is a little, not shaky, but could be really close to 6-4.
All right, last thing, Mitch, would love that nugget of the night you promised earlier.
Well, let's talk about late in the game when it matters the most. The baseball analogy of your ninth inning runners at 2nd and 3rd, 2 outs. Patrick Mahomes has been spectacular in the 4th quarter, and his QBR rating is 3rd in the league. But the defense has also been spectacular in such situations. Now, let me look here at Pat. When trailing in the second half, you know the Chiefs have won 9 straight times when trailing in the second half. It's an all-time NFL record. That's ridiculous. But they're doing it because Pat Mahomes has a 116.1 QBR in the 4th quarter. Now, when the team, and 100.1 QBR when the team is trailing. His problems have become early in the game. But how about this defense? The defense for the Chiefs, when they are trailing in the 4th quarter, have allowed 0 points and 20 total yards all year when trailing in the 4th quarter. And people want to know, oh, they're lucky. How do they come from, how do they win when they're trailing from behind? Because this team has the heart of a champion. And when it gets the toughest and at the most opportune time is when they will do their best work on offense and defense.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, and he joins us weekly on 580 Sports Talk, thanks to Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Mitch, enjoy your trip to upstate New York and see if you can't bring back another W.
You got it, brother. And thank you to the kid at Rossville who dressed up like me, I think for Halloween or for some like Kansas History Project. So, hey, dude, I'll take all I can get. You know, I was in U.S. Magazine or Us Magazine, but it's bigger to have the Rossville kid dressed up like me, man. Way to go, brother.
Believe it was Kansas History Day, and you're living Kansas history, Mitch.
I don't know about that, but shout out to that young guy. Hope to meet him someday.
Hey, thank you, Mitch, for your time.
Thank you, Dan.
That was Dan Lucera talking with the one, the only, the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. We'll step aside for a break. When we come back, we will have our KU player profile with Mike Ford, senior offensive lineman. That's coming up next on 580 Sports Talk.
Our KU player profile this week on 580 Sports Talk introduces us to the senior starting left guard of the Jayhawks, Mike Ford. And Mike, you guys are coming off of a home win over Iowa State and a game where you played so well in the first half, made the plays down the stretch offensively and defensively to seal the game. Just how good did that winning locker room feel, being able to beat a quality opponent and execute for 60 minutes the way that you did?
Yeah, it felt great, seeing our team execute at the level that we did, coming off a great week of practice. And also it felt great to see, Devin Neal break the record along with us getting the win. So, everything was kind of like poetic that night. And it felt great. And I'm ready to do it again this week.
Let's talk about Devin Neal and his record-breaking performance and his record-breaking career. You've had the privilege to block for Devin these few years. So any rushing record set, that's you have a part in that. You guys up front have a part in that. How much pride do you guys take up front, knowing that, hey, the most prolific running back in Kansas history, most yards, most touchdowns? Yeah, I helped make that happen a little bit.
Yeah, you take a lot of pride in it for sure. And I think we take a lot of pride in the fact that we've seen Devin grow from, I've been here 4 years and he's been here 4 years. So I've had the pleasure of blocking for him all my years here at Kansas. And just seeing him grow and develop into the person he is right now has just been great. You know what I mean? I feel like since our freshman year, we always knew that he would do and accomplish great things. So I'm just happy that his dreams are coming to fruition.
Everybody knows and can see what kind of football player he is, but the next negative thing we hear about Devin Neal, the person, will be the first, and certainly I've had a chance to interact with him over the years and know that firsthand, but testify to a little bit the person that Devin Neal is, the teammate that he has been throughout his career at Kansas.
Devin Neal is a pleasure to be around. He's a great player, but I would say he's an even better person. You know what I mean? He's a high character guy. He's great to be around. He brings great energy every day, on and off the field. And I feel like I'm just so happy that a person of that stature will also win on the field. So yeah, it's great.
We're talking to Mike Ford, senior left guard for the Kansas Jayhawks, our KU player profile here on 580 Sports Talk. Playing in the trenches is not the most, it can be a thankless job at times. It doesn't always get the recognition it deserves, but you guys understand that. Offensive linemen get that, and it creates a great camaraderie amongst that group of players. Tell me about your offensive line room, the guys that you're with every day, the guys you work next to every day, compete with on Saturdays. What's the personality of this group? What makes it so special to be around this group of guys particularly?
Right. Yeah, no doubt. I think as a group, we're a selfless group. I think no one really cares about the credit or who gets it. And that's what makes our group special, I believe. We all sign up to be offensive linemen, so we all know what comes with it. We will all honestly rather the running backs and quarterbacks get all the credit because they deserve it. You know what I mean? They're putting in the work as well. But in the trenches is just what comes with it. So we don't really worry about it. We just worry about getting our job done, and everything else will handle itself.
All right, so I love to ask questions about this for guys who are in a particularly tight-knit position group, and offensive line is certainly one of those. So, Mike Ford, we're going to put you on the spot a little bit about some of your teammates. Of the offensive linemen on the team, who's the smartest guy in the room, or the smartest guys you think in that room?
Right now, you got to have a smart center. So I would say Bryce Foster is a great center. He's a mountain of a man, but he's also smart in the head as well. So I would say he's definitely smart. He listens. He's locked in every day. So you can't really ask for much more. But I think as an offensive line, I think we mesh pretty well as far as being smart. I think we all work off each other well, and we're all wanting to learn.
Who's the funniest guy in the offensive line meetings? Who's quickest with a joke? Who's the funniest guy?
I would probably say, I would definitely say probably Dre Dorian. He's from Canada. He wears number 73. Yeah, he's hilarious. He could light up a room as soon as he walk in. So he's a pleasure to be around.
Who's the best dressed of the offensive linemen?
Oh man, best dress. I'd probably say it's like a 3-way tie. You know what I mean? It gotta be. I'll put myself in there.
Sure.
I would probably say Kobe Baines. Honestly, 4-way tie. I'd probably say myself, Kobe Baines, Daryl Simmons, transfer from Iowa State, and I would probably say my man Dre Dorian again from Canada.
All right. Why you? Why do you feel like you are the one of the sharper dressers? Is it because everybody else is kind of Wranglers and flannel all the time and big belt buckles? Is that how that goes?
Nah, you know what I mean? I feel like everybody else. I feel like everyone has their own little style. You know, and like I take pride in my style. You know what I mean? I've always thought less is more. So you know what I mean? I'm not doing too much, but I'm always clean. You know.
Sure. No, I respect it. We're talking to Mike Ford, offensive lineman for the Kansas Jayhawks. All right, Mike, how about this? Who would you not let have the aux cord and choose the music? If there's a team lift or something like that going on with the O-lineman, who in no circumstances should be allowed to touch the aux cord and choose the music?
The aux cord. I'm gonna have to go Logan Brown on that one, because not more so just like I don't think he'll play bad music. It just I don't know what he'll play, and I think the safest route is just to go with someone else.
I respect that. You don't want the wild card necessarily when it comes to the music choice, something like that. All right, Mike, you are from Homewood, Illinois. That's just outside of Chicago, and you're proud Chicagoan. Tell me what you miss the most when you're not home. What do you miss the most about Chicago?
You know, I play offensive line, so I love to eat. So I would probably say the food. I love Chicago just because like all the different food varieties that you have, and like it's good food everywhere. So I would definitely say I miss the food most definitely.
So obviously there are the three commonly recognized delicacies of Chicago cuisine: the deep dish pizza, the hot beef sandwich, the Chicago dog. Which is the best of those three? Your favorite of those three in particular?
I would probably say I think I would go to the hot dog. I think the hot dog's pretty solid. You know, the deep dish is good as well too. But yeah, I would go to hot dog for sure.
Every Chicagoan's got a favorite pizza place. I went to school in the upper Midwest, Western Indiana. I know plenty of people from Chicago, and I think if I talk to 10 different Chicagoans, I might hear 10 different choices for favorite pizza place.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
So what is Mike Ford's go-to pizza joint in Chicago?
My go-to pizza, I would go Aurelio's.
Okay.
I would definitely go Aurelio's, and right after that, I would go Italian Fiesta.
Okay. All right. So we get a top two from Mike Ford, just in case we find ourselves in Chicago anytime soon. Now, do you ride for the city sports teams? Were you a fan of the local sports teams growing up in Chicago?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I grew up a Cubs fan. It's weird because I'm from the South Side. I should be a White Sox fan, but I'm a Cubs fan. But, yeah, I'm a Cubs fan. I like the Bears, the Bulls, and, the Blackhawks, the hockey team. You know what I mean? So.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you had a chance then to, experience some championship memories of those teams growing up. Certainly the Cubs and obviously the Blackhawks had that great run. But if there's, I have to ask you about the Bears though. You still a Caleb Williams believer?
Yeah, man. He's a rookie, so he's gonna have those growing pains, and you can't just hop up in the NFL and go ballistic. So yeah. I'm definitely still a Caleb Williams believer. I think as time goes on, he's gonna get better for sure.
All right. Last thing for Mike Ford. We're going to bring it all the way back around to the Kansas Jayhawks, who are heading out to Provo Saturday night to take on BYU. Huge challenge against an unbeaten BYU team in a really unique atmosphere for college football. How much are you looking forward to this opportunity as a team? You feel like you've got some mojo back after the win over the Cyclones. You're going on the road. You're going to be underdogs, hostile environment. How much are you guys looking forward to and embracing this opportunity?
I think not only myself, but the entire team is embracing this moment for sure. I think we're ready for this moment, and I think we're gonna make a statement most definitely.
Mike Ford, senior left guard for the Kansas Jayhawks, our KU player profile this week on 580 Sports Talk. Mike, fun getting to know you. Appreciate you taking the time, and best of luck to you and the Jayhawks this Saturday in Provo.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
That was our KU player profile with senior offensive lineman Mike Ford. Dan Lucero there with the interview Before we hit the break, I found some sound bites this week. Excuse me, from Patrick Mahomes that I thought were good. One of them specifically is about DeAndre Hopkins, what he's now seen from him 3 games in, and what's something he didn't envision seeing from him as seeing him from afar. This is what QB1 Patrick Mahomes had to say.
I mean, I think just the ability to win one-on-one is special. I mean, that truly is special. And sometimes it gets lost. Because whenever you got a guy in the boundary that's one-on-one with, like this week he was with Surtain, and Surtain's one of the best corners in the league, and he was winning some of those. He's winning some of those matchups, and he's really kind of showcasing that he can win one-on-one versus anybody. And that stuff that takes pressure, it puts pressure on the defense whenever I'm hitting those guys over there in those one-on-one matchups and making them push guys over, which is opening up everybody else. And so that, as well as being able to make tough and contested catches, like the deep cross he had over the middle of the field, that stuff that just in my mind shows me I need to give him more and more chances in those situations.
And that was Mahomes talking about DeAndre Hopkins and what he's seen from him since he's come over from the Tennessee Titans via the trade. Also, he talked about playing Josh Allen and the Bills and what it's like in, basically playing the best of the best is what he wants to do all season long.
You're playing the best. I mean, the best of the best. That's what you want in this league. And I've been able to go up against Josh a multitude of times. And every single game, it seems like it comes down to the very end. And he's a guy that competes, and he has that fire. I think you can see that fire that he plays with, and that kind of goes through his entire team. And a lot of guys have had a lot of success. And so we know it's going to take our best football. I think that's what we know. And if we don't, we're going to lose. And we've lost some, and we've won some. So I'm just hoping that this week we can go out there, play our best football, and find a way to get a win.
Those were 2 sound bites from Patrick Mahomes, one about DeAndre Hopkins and the other about playing the Bills and playing the best of the best. We'll have the final word. That's it when we wrap things up on this edition of 580 Sports Talk next.
Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation. Call 800-968-9022. 800-968-9022. 800-968-9022. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com. WIVW, Topeka.
One more thing. In conclusion, you better wrap it up.
Final word time here on 580 Sports Talk. And while I picked the Bills earlier, I do think there's a great chance that the three receivers out there in Hopkins, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Travis Kelce can be a huge, huge help for Patrick Mahomes this weekend. And maybe it just turns the tide up in Buffalo, but if they're on the road, it's going to be a tough environment. And I'm still sticking with my pick of the Bills. We'll have high school football coverage coming up next. Coaches Club first, though. Have a great weekend, everyone, on 580 Sports Talk.